Hey fam, welcome back to Muse and Be Well. If you are new here, guess what? I'm going to introduce myself.
Please do.
I'm Taelor Chanel, a visual creative and certified sound healer.
And you're using your sleepy, sexy voice today. I'm Misha Battiste, a certified life and leadership coach and a goofy girl.
And she is. Y'all, it's cold. It was it was thunderstorming last night and raining last night and raining today. And we were just like in these cozy, comfy vibes because the topic that we have today, yes, my blanket. Topic that we have today, sometimes you just got to get cozy and comfortable, you know? But before we get into that, this is a space for dreamers learning to live well, aligning purpose and wellness. So take a breath, settle in, and join us as we make room for reflection, honest conversation, and gentle tools that support your becoming with more clarity, care, and intention. Okay? So, like I said, today we are going somewhere a little bit uncomfortable. And sometimes you got to be comfortable. You know what I'm saying?
To
In
get
order to be uncomfortable. You see where I'm getting at?
I hear. And so what she's trying to say, guys, is that today we're going to talk about tough conversations. You know, the one you've been putting off, the one that you keep trying to get right, trying to figure out the right words and the right talking points, and it's keeping you up at night. You're probably rehearsing what you got to say in the shower, fighting back about the conversation in the shower. And then you say absolutely nothing when the time comes. Everything that you meant to say just kind of goes out the window.
You saying that just made me think of, have you ever seen Crazy Rich Asians?
Of course.
I love that movie. But anyways, when Piglin is talking to Rachel and she was like, you not no chicken? She's like, bok bok, bitch.
Today we teaching y'all to buck. Okay.
You ain't no
that.
chicken?
Should that be the title of the episode? Stop being a chicken. Bok
bok bok,
bok
bitch.
Bok. No, it won't be.
I'm sorry, excuse my language. So we've all been there. And today we're just going to unpack what makes conversations tough and hard to face and give you practical tools to help you navigate through that. So let's get into
the Muse
our next
Moment.
segment. Yeah.
But before we get into the Muse Moment, actually, we want to ask you guys to take a moment, subscribe, leave a review or leave a comment or share it with a friend who you are ready to have a tough conversation with or might need some help having a tough conversation with. This is the episode for them. Send it and let's keep growing this community.
That part. Grab your journals, get comfy.
Let's do it. But first, we got to do our Muse Moment. And we both have like interesting Muse moments this week. Mine is part me and part this other lady that I have just met. Her name is Tiffany Lawrence Jones, and I'm sharing her full name because she is someone that you can work with in the future. But so I was scrolling on TikTok a couple, like maybe earlier in the new year. And I ran across Miss Tiffany's TikTok, and she was saying all the things that I have been wanting to say since I have started coaching. Like the whole reason why I coach, she laid out in a TikTok that I have never said at all. Like I've said it like to my friends and like, my community knows, but I've never articulated it online. And I was so pissed. I was so pissed seeing that. I was like about to throw my phone, like in Mean Girls after the Halloween thing, and like Katie like and like just starts breaking up stuff and goes into her. I wasn't feeling that much, but I was close. And like I went on to her, like she had like over 1,000 likes on her TikTok. I went to her link tree and she too has an alignment session. I'm just like, who is this girl? Where'd she come from? Why, And it just made me feel like, oh, I'm not like, this thing is not as unique as I thought it was, or, whatever. And so I spent a little time digging around more. And then I came to realize that like, she's been doing this years longer than me, at least like, she probably got like 5-7 years on me. And she's in it and she seems like a sweet person in communities. I always try to use moments when I'm feeling like a little jealous of someone to use it as information and data. I also let myself feel feelings, but I always try to bring myself back of like, okay, so what we doing with this? And so my initial thought was like, okay, well, let's just like see if I can just add her to my network. Let's see if she wants to have like a talk with me and just kind of talk coach to coach type vibes. But something about that just didn't feel right, especially because of how I came into it. I just didn't want to feel like I'm having an insincere conversation or like an information gathering conversation with her. And so I just kind of let it sit for a little bit. And 2 weeks ago, like last Sunday, she sent out an email because I'm on her email list now too, y'all. And she said that she is going to be retiring her alignment session. And so if you want to book an alignment session, do it from now until June. I do need some alignment right now. And, a coach needs a coach. I can't work myself through all the things. And you guys all know that I've been in transition with ADHD and all that good stuff. So I booked the session. And it was such a good time. I did leave with clarity. I did feel leaving more aligned. I shared with her about like, when I saw you, I was a little jealous. And, she laughed and she's like, I've had the same experiences. Like, thank you for being vulnerable. And like, it just was a beautiful thing. There are still a lot of similarities between us, but yeah, I just kind of felt like a big sister vibe in the end. And like, she is someone that I want to keep in my life, whether I'm, hiring her as a coach in the future or whatever. And so I just want to share that story of using a moment of insecurity or jealousy and let it actually empower you in the end. Because now I am empowered. She's empowered. I paid her money. You know what I mean? And now I'm sharing her on this platform. And so, yeah, that's long story short. Jealousy is data. Use it wisely.
That's actually a great bar. But I do want to call out that or name that I'm proud of you for being self-aware in that moment and acknowledging your feelings and then course correcting, right, to turn into something more positive because that also and I'm pretty sure maybe I don't know. I don't want to speak for you, but entering that conversation could have probably been tough, but you were vulnerable and told her like, "Hey, this is what I was feeling at first, but, I had to reevaluate what was going on and come just from a place of love and support and maybe not yes, support, but I think the main thing was like love, maybe."
There's something you can learn from the person that you're jealous of. Like, there is something, and I'm not truly jealous of her, y'all. But yeah, there like as much as it's information, I didn't want to sit there and just monitor her, be like, have you ever heard of like that monitoring spirit? Like, I didn't want to just be like, oh, what's she saying now? And she like add her to the community. Like, let me learn from her. She's got more experience. Like, she is the one who is out there saying the thing that I want to say. And so let me glean from that. And to your point, I was always going to tell her because I'm just like an honest person that way that like, girl, I was a little, but I was, it can go two ways. One, she can be like, oh, well, I don't know if I should feel safe with you. Like, she could have just been like, oh, that's good to know. And like used it against me. But instead she related it back. She was like, I felt like that. She actually kind of cut me off. She's like, girl, I've been through that. I do that all the time. And like literally the same thing I was telling you guys right now. She's like, it was the same thing for me. Yeah. It was a meeting of the minds, and that can happen more often than we think than we think that it might be.
We love that.
We love that.
Yay! Okay, so my Muse moment. So oh, y'all, when I tell you I got red for filth, but in the like most good and positive way ever. So Misha, she connected me with her cousin.
Hey, Therese.
Therese, shout out to you, girl. I also told her that she needs to be on a podcast. But
I love that.
anywho, so Misha connected me with her because she's in project management. I've experienced in project management. And so she was just kind of asking me some questions and we kind of dove a little bit deeper. And I'm still processing the conversation. So I don't want to like spill all the beans because it's still all
you gotta make it plain
discombobulated
for
in my
yourself
head.
first. Yeah.
But I think the main thing that I got out of that conversation, she told me, nobody's coming to save you, so you have to save yourself. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And these are things I know, but you know how, like, you just need somebody just to, like, whack you on the head again? Like, that was just like a kinda a whack on the head that I needed, or a little bit of wind up that I needed, and I'm just like, "You right,
Yeah.
girl, you right." Like,
Was
all
it
the things that you
empowering?
were telling me
Yeah.
are right. Yes, it was very empowering, and we got to talk about some personal matters, and she's like, "Why are you at the age of 33 trying to seek validation and approval of certain people when they have showcased that they are not capable of doing that for you or being, like, emotionally available to you?" And I'm just like,
So, by the way, when Taylor was telling me this, I was like, I connected you with her, but I don't look, because I know they're gonna read me. So I just, like, everything's great. Because they're gonna get me together and it's scary.
and so I'm just like, I just appreciate her because she's real, but she's loving. And mind you, I just met her for the first time the other day. And so, like, I just enjoy people who keep it honest and real, but who still have, like, a loving heart. And it's coming from a place of, like, girl, I want to see you win, but I also need to tell you a truth,
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
her. That's her.
And so I'm just like, ooh, child.
Yeah.
And so she was just telling me, like, figure out, like, what are the things that are coming to you right now, what are the things that are coming, ponder on it, and talk to God, pray about it, and do the things. So literally this morning, because we had the conversation yesterday, this morning I was finishing off a devotional and I needed to write the prayer part of it. The conversation that her and I had yesterday aligned with the devotional that I left off with the devotional, with saying, like, submit your plans to God and, like, tell him to help guide your steps for you. And so I was like, oh, this aligns perfectly. Everything really happens for a reason, right? Uh, and so, yeah, I was able to kind of flush out some thoughts and get to somewhat of a point of understanding, but I still have some more things to process and write out. But I'm going to take some time this week to write that all out and get the thoughts out of my head and come to just, like, a place of, all right, this is the plan. Like, we got to get out of survival mode. You know, we got to have this clear place.
I love this. It's interesting that we both come here today. Like, okay, we found some clarity and some alignment over the weekend. For me, it's been the
Yeah.
struggle of just like, how am I supposed to market myself online? And for you, what do I focus most on right now? And yeah, I connected you with Therese because I saw a lot of similarities, smart girlies, creative girlies, project managing girlies. And she's just such a good advice giver and such like a pour in. So I'm like, you gotta go talk to her. Go talk to her.
Yes. And I
So
thank you.
gorgeous,
I thank
gorgeous.
you.
Thank you, Therese. Okay. Thank you for this Muse Moment. Look good for us.
All right, y'all. So, know what time it is. It's our grounding moment segment. So, grab your essential oils.
We need to get an essential oil sponsor.
We do, honestly and truly. All right, y'all. So if you don't have your essential oils handy, click pause, go grab them, and then click play. Come right back. Place a drop in your hand. And you're going to rub your palms together. Make a tent with your fingers over your nose. And we're going to do a big inhale and exhale. Inhale again. And exhale. Inhale one more time. And exhale. You can gently soften your shoulders. Unclench your jaw. Let your tongue rest at the bottom of your mouth. Rotate your neck if you need to. Roll them shoulders. Release the tension.
Oof, that felt amazing.
Girl, let me tell you, the light stretch, okay? All right, so today we are going to practice 4-6-8 breathing. I actually love this breathing technique. It's one of my faves that I've come to realize. But we're going to inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 6 seconds, and exhale for 8 seconds. So
now, can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
How are you breathing in to make sure that you have all the air needed to make sure that that breath lasts for 8 seconds? Are you breathing mouth open or breathing in through your nose? That's really the question.
I'm breathing in through my nose.
Okay. That's what I usually do
I'm
too.
breathing in through my nose and taking for each second, I'm doing a, you know?
Yeah.
But you kind of play around with it to figure out what feels comfortable for you.
Yeah.
So I don't know, our lung capacity could be different. And so do whatever feels comfortable for you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Yes. All right, you ready? Okay. All right. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale slowly. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale slowly. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One more time. Inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come back to your natural breath. Notice how you may have shifted. And this is your reminder that you can always come back to yourself at any moment. Come back to your breath. It is a free practice that can help calm your nervous system.
That's so demure. I really do.
All right. Now that we have grounded, let's get into the meat and potatoes. Misha, take it away.
Okay, let's be honest, y'all. Most of us don't avoid hard conversations because we don't care.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what it is. We avoid them because we care too much.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. We're scared of the reaction, scared of damaging the relationship, or we just don't know how to start. Taelor, I'm wondering on your end, what are some reasons that you might have avoided hard conversations before? Or what's the feeling behind the avoidance for you?
Yeah, I think for me, I typically avoid conversations due to the fear of people's reactions. So, and I think that stems from childhood. Like my parents weren't the best communicators growing up. And when I tried to express myself, I was either shut down or there was some type of negative response that just was not warranted. Or sorry, negative reaction and response that just wasn't warranted. So I think in the process of me growing and maturing and reparenting myself, I have to constantly tell myself that my voice matters and how I feel matters. And I've recently gotten to the place of, come into this conversation or go into this conversation and operate in love and understanding, especially when I need to express myself, express my feelings, right? So somebody can tell me how they feel about me. We all have the tendency to get defensive, right? But in those moments, really truly listen to what it is they're trying to say. Get to the root of what they're trying to say. Sometimes people's tones can also be very triggering, at least for me.
No, I have a tone problem. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And so in those moments, like, it's okay, and I had to work with my therapist to be like, "Hey, I can't receive what you're saying right now because of your tone. Like, can you adjust that? I'm trying to hear what you're trying to say and trying to convey, but I need you to adjust your tone in this moment in order for me to hear you, to truly hear you and understand what you're trying to say." And that helps with navigating that defensiveness within yourself.
Mhm.
And then also, like, setting the tone for the conversation, right? Like, reshifting it. Yeah, and I usually have the tendency going into a conversation and being very anxious. And so, um, I to navigate that, I usually say a prayer beforehand and, ask God to, again, help me come from a place of love and understanding, allow me to set the tone of love, and curiosity. And yeah, and I'll also do like some breathing techniques just to calm my nervous system before going into the conversation too. How about you?
Baby, she's coming in zen. You're not about to disrupt her peace
Yeah, no,
at
I
this
just
day and age.
can't.
So
I
for
can't.
me, growing up, I'm still sensitive, but I let my sensitivity hang out a bit more growing up. And so I never had a problem telling people like how like you're being mean or doesn't feel good. I can do it. But I was always kind of like rejected in those moments, like, girl, you
Mm.
just sensitive, you just being sensitive, or I'd be mocked. There's one time in particular in elementary school, I was in a fight with a friend that really made me sad. And so I went to the counselor, like, come on, girl. Like, I went to the counselor and, like, I have a friend problem, help me with this. And she gave me a script of, like, I feel like this when you do this. You make me, just kind of communicating my feelings to her. And so I wrote it and I gave it to my friend. And she wrote back basically like, girl, this is bullshit. Like, just we're still in elementary school, but like
Okay.
she just rejected it. She just like we just did not it just wasn't, and so growing up I kind of got to this place of just like, child, no, don't nobody care, like don't nobody care. And like also like you just are too sensitive, you need to toughen up and get over it, regulate yourself. Everybody doesn't need to fix themselves for you, you just need to fix yourself for you or like for them kind of thing. And so what ended up happening like in my particularly like college years, early adult years, I would
Mhm.
let things build up and then explode. And
That
they
was
would be
me.
like,
That was me too. Let
yeah,
me
like,
tell you.
and so then I would explode and now I'm the crazy girl who's exploding. And but people still didn't get me. People still didn't there was never any change behavior. And that hurts. Like when you pour your heart
Mhm.
out and you're kind of pleading, like, be better for me, show up differently from me. This is what I need. And people it don't mean anything to them, where that's what it feels like to me. That's hurtful. And so I think that's when I really just started kind of keeping to myself and just, you know, and it wasn't until 2021 that changed, for like where I am now, where
Mhm.
I started to like realize that you do need to tell people how you want to be treated. And you do need to have those types of conversations so you can keep the relationship good, because resentment comes when you're not having those conversations, separateness. Like I had a friend who I just kind of slowly stopped talking to because I just felt they were always calling me and like not considerate of my time. Instead of me just saying like, hey, I just need you to be a little considerate of my time, I kind of let like we just kind of ease on out. We would talk quarterly or just text, and like I let years go by of a good friend. We're good now, but we didn't need to have that space and distance. I could have just said that.
Mhm.
And I know that friend would have been receptive to it, but that was a void. That was me feeling like it wasn't worth it. Because that's another story that I start to pick up on. It's just like, well, they're not going to change anyway. It's not worth it. Just kind of keep it, like, just brush it under the rug and just like kind of ignore it. If they're not going to ask you about it, then you don't got to worry about it. But I still want that person to be my friend, actually. So
Mhm.
I got them back, but that's a lesson learned,
Yeah.
how to say.
Yeah.
And I do now I'm able to let my sensitivities hang out a lot more because I'm letting my friends know, like, I am sensitive and, like, it's boundaries, you know? And that's a lot of these conversations do just look like, "Hey, you did this thing," or "We're having this issue," and it comes down to boundaries and respecting each other's differences, and so I'm comfortable with that now, and I'm so comfortable if someone is not receptive and someone can't that's not the person for me, and I kinda don't need them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yes, 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 yes,
Yeah.
so my
But I
thought.
also wanna name too that I feel like majority of people are sensitive. It's just I feel like people have these guardrails up, and, like, the most sensitive people are the ones that have these high ass guardrails, right? You know?
Yeah.
But anyway.
No,
So
I when I was at my toughest and just like, no feelings, like I would go off on one of my poor friends, like, girl, like, don't bring all of this stuff to me. You just need to figure that out. Like, you need to regulate yourself. Like, whatever story you coming up with, you need to figure that out before you bring it to me. No, my friend should be able to bring things to me and I should be able to clarify, honestly.
yeah.
If that's a person I love, it's okay for us to have a little moment and sort through it.
Yeah.
It really is, yeah. So,
Yeah.
sorry, friend, she knows better now, but, like, sorry I gave that.
Alright, so let's break it down.
Yeah.
What actually makes a tough conversation hard?
Yeah, so when you're going into a conversation, there's 3 triggers that are happening. So, it's 1, it's you, it's the I in the conversation, and that's how you see yourself, and usually when you're having a tough conversation, within that, there's some critical feedback.
Mm,
There's some like, "You make me feel you need to," whatever it is critical feedback.
mhm,
So, receiving that will impact your identity or the way you see yourself. Someone's like, "I need you to say more kind things to me." You're like, "I feel like I always say kind things to you." And then that might really hurt your identity as like a kind person.
mhm,
So that's like a thing that you need to be aware of and kind of be able to set aside in the conversation. The next part is the we. So that's
mm,
you and the person you're in conversation with. So they're giving you this feedback, but whatever's going on in the relationship, it can be like your dad or your kid, like who knows, but there is a little trigger within that relationship that receiving feedback from them or having this conversation with them is gonna trigger you in some way. So that's another
mhm,
thing that you need to be aware of, right? Like there might literally be a reason that like, oh, I don't want to talk to her about this because I already know that she's the. That's a
mm,
story, and you got to set that aside,
mm,
put it aside. And then the other part is the it. So it is the actual feedback that was being said. So again, if someone is saying, you're not being kind, I feel like you need to say more kind things to me. I've been like, well, I am kind. They just kind of like kind, they just go off and it's like, you're missing the point. Listen, like settle down. Like it's kind of like that wrong spotting because then like it can turn into, well, I just bought you flowers last week, and it's like, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about kind words, So
mhm,
the it can kind of trigger a whole different thing where you begin to miss the point or kind of focus in on the wrong point. Does that make sense to you?
it does make sense, and I wanna say that kinda going back to the identity portion of it, where you, mentioned, like, receiving the feedback. I want to kinda connect something that in church a couple of weeks ago, it was actually on the 1st of March, PD's sermon, he was introducing, like, the why can I not think of it? The new sermon series, there you go, and it's called Prayology. But one thing that stuck out, he was talking about people, like, experiencing you, and he said, "I honor your intention, but that's not what I'm experiencing."
Girl, that was actually my problem. Like the
Mm,
identity problem that I had with most of the feedback that I would get from colleagues from college and friends, I'd be like, it would be so hard for me to receive critical feedback because I never intend to do a bad thing. My heart is to never hurt you or to, make you feel anything or to show up in a way that you didn't expect me to show up. That's never my intention. And
mhm,
it's really hard for me to understand that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. That was like a phrase
mm,
that I really didn't get until I got it. That, like, honestly, being intentional only matters when you hit on the intention. It's intention versus impact kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he also says, I'm going to share some nuggets, but before he had said that statement, he said that's something that needs to be explored between your intention and the way you experience it, because some people get that confused. He's like, that's because you're confusing your intention in terms of the way you're trying to show up with the way your actions are showing up.
Can I share an example? Now, I'm going to start with this example by saying that I still don't agree with this person about this. So, correct me, Taelor, help me through if I need to be helped through. Okay. But there was a friend that I had that, loved and adored. I found her brilliant. I was like my perspective, I should say, was I was very supportive, very encouraging, just gave her a lot of space to explore herself, and just naturally baseline, I'm a complimentary person, and I'm gonna hype you up if there's a thing to hype up in the moment. That's just how I am. I'm a Leo. So one day we were in an Uber and she was talking to this guy who went to Harvard, and she was just concerned of like if she was good enough, if she was pretty enough kind of thing. And I was like, I'm only going to tell you this once, but there is no one who is going to be like as pretty as you, as brilliant as you, like as whatever, like just like that's not a thing. There, he's not going to find a better thing than you. And her takeaway was like, you never going to tell me that again? Why wouldn't you tell me that again? Da, 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 da. And like the reason why I said that, because at that time, honestly, I was in that same mindset of like, you need to build yourself up. You need to regulate yourself. You need to like just know this about yourself. Whether that's right or wrong, I still do feel like, I want people to be able to affirm themselves. And I know that there might be times where you can't affirm yourself in the moment, so you need a friend to. But I'm pretty sure I affirmed her in the moment, but she took the I'm not going to tell you this again piece. And that was it. And it was hard because like the feedback became that like I'm not, because my argument like, girl, I compliment you all the time, like you can't say that about me. And we're not really friends anymore. But it's just an interesting scenario. Like my intention was to empower her and know that she is the most beautiful, smartest girl that this man can get. But the impact was that I'm not going to give you those types of compliments often. And I get that. So how do you receive all of that? Yeah.
I think I see both sides.
Yeah.
I see, and maybe, and I don't want to speak for this woman, but maybe, well, clearly you saying you're only going to tell her this one time was like a triggering thing. And like, I'm not too sure if like that was something negative that she experienced like in her growing up, if that was her takeaway, but I also see your point in sometimes we often, just as individuals, like to complain about the same thing over and over and over again. And sometimes other individuals don't have as much capacity for it. And that's okay, because I see your point in like, there's only so many times I'm going to tell you this, because at a certain point you have to latch on,
Honestly,
you have
a throwaway. It's honestly just a throwaway bullshit line, honestly. But yeah,
yeah. But I think that if that was her takeaway, I think that she was missing the point.
She did miss the point, and she wasn't going to really get the point. We could like, because then she told her friend, and her friend was like, well, that's weird. Now I'm the weirdo who doesn't, like to compliment people. But
yeah, but you also have to just like look at situations to really reevaluate, like, okay, like in that moment, if her takeaway was that, then she should have taken the moment to be like, okay, well, does Misha compliment me like on a normal basis, like on a consistent basis, like within our friendship? And if the answer for her was yes, then it's like, okay, let's throw this comment away. There are things that my friends say all the time that I don't take too seriously, because it's like, I know that the intention probably wasn't ill will or malicious. You know, it's just in the moment when you are having a conversation, sometimes like our brains just be running and running and running, and we're just saying stuff without a filter sometimes, you know? And it's like, you caught me on a bad day. I'm sorry.
And that is my thing in general. I can have a spicy mouth at times. I can be a little blunt at times. And, you know, I have learned today to take the L on that and be like, my bad, girl. And what I'll say, I want to say that I'm pretty sure at that point we were at a, you know, she was going to find anything wrong with me to get us from this relationship. So that's fine. And I will say that overall is probably the best that I stood my ground on that. But I was defensive. And honestly, when in my mature space now, how I would have handled that was interesting. You don't feel like I give you a lot of compliments. And she'll share how she feels. She can share about that thing. And I will say, well, I am sorry. I did not, you know, I'm always going to think that you're whatever. And, you know, I'm going to just, you know, affirm her regardless and say that, like, you know, it's my heart to blah, 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 like to always make you feel great. And hopefully she can do that same thing for me. Like, you know, I know you love me. I know you, like, you know, that's what you would hope the conversation would go. So I can't say that like both sides, it wasn't handled that great. Cause I was arguing her down. Like, you ain't going to tell me.
But I think both of y'all got defensive. And so like in those moments, or like those scenarios when both parties are getting defensive, it's coming to a point of like, all right, let's not like nitpick or go tit for tat. It's like, what is the root of the issue here?
Yeah. And
you know,
to your point, so when I said the thing of like, you know, if we had that same conversation, my reaction would be, you don't feel like, you know, I do that. Tell me about that. Get curious. Yeah, we should all get a little bit more curious when someone lands a critical feedback to you, especially if it's an identity trigger. Get curious on the context of that. Have them explain their experience and what that looks like and why it's showing up for them. Because that'll tell you everything you need to know, honestly. And then you can work from there. Like, let them speak. Yeah.
Yeah. But you got to also be willing to receive this information too. And if you are not, I'm just going to add this one little tidbit and then we can move on. But if someone comes to you asking for a conversation or like, are you able to hold space for this? And if you're not, be honest with that. There are many a times a homeboy of mine, he'll be like, hey, can you hold space for this right now? And I'm like, I thank you for bringing it to my attention, but right now I'm not in this space to have this conversation. But let me circle back to you on X day.
Yes,
or in a couple hours.
I'm glad you brought this to this conversation because on both ends, that's something not on both ends, but that's something I struggle with in general. And that's a little bit of impulsivity, ADHD situations because now, well, one, if I need a friend, like I need to talk to someone, it's hard not to have anyone to talk to. And so that doesn't feel good on the other side, but I think we do have to, again, regulate ourselves to just be like, okay, let me talk to God. Let me journal. Let me call my mama, somebody. Like, you know, just, you know, parent yourself in that moment. But yes, I want to acknowledge that, like, sometimes it's hard to, like, not have anyone to talk to. But something I do now, because I don't want to have resentment or I don't want to spend time really being mad or annoyed at someone, is that it's also with my bestie Angeline, when like we're out together and like something happens, I'm annoyed. Like we just gonna have to talk about it real quick and I'm good. Most of the times I bring something to someone, it's not a relationship ending conversation or like a thing that like now we're gonna be beefed out for a month. It's usually something of just like, hey, this just bothered me. Let's work through it real quick and I'm good. We ain't gotta talk about it ever again. Or if we do talk about it, we're gonna laugh about it. That can be a lot for people. Like, I'm sure people are like, you know, poor Angeline, like, I'm just having a good time and I gotta deal with you being annoyed with me for a second. And like, I can shake back from these types of conversations much easier than other people can. As long as I get myself off my chest, take care, babes.
Yeah. But like, I do want to call out too
people,
that like, I don't know. For me, I'm different because I can sometimes tend to shut down in conversations. And so in order for me to not shut down, I need a moment to myself to gather my thoughts and get clear so that I can enter into this space in conversation coming from a place of love versus coming from a place of like annoyance and frustration. And then I'm saying some stuff, excuse me.
mm-hmm.
Then I'm saying some things that I don't mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like coming from a place where I don't want to come from, and their experience with me is just not conducive to the environment to have a healthy dialogue. So yeah, like I know for me, sometimes it's like I can take forever to have the conversation, like to tell you about some stuff. And so my homeboy, I think it was actually a very healthy conversation. We kind of got to a point of, all right, this is how I'm feeling in our friendship. He's telling me how he's feeling in the friendship. It's like, okay, well, what place can we come to? And he was like, I think I would love if you can commit to bringing a problem to me within 48 hours. I said, okay, I can do that. My Scorpio self, I can just be like, oh, you piss me the fuck off.
Yeah,
like,
you gotta brood for a little bit.
Like, I don't want to, sting you. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I feel like that's a fair enough time for me to do that. And there was a situation to where I needed to express something to him because he did something that pissed me off. And so I brought it to him in less than 48 hours, actually, like an hour or two, more so like an hour later, or maybe 30 minutes. And I was like, and it was really bothering me. Like it was bothering me. And I was just like, okay, I need to express this. Da, 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 da. And then when I expressed it, he didn't take it well. And I was just like, you can't tell me to come to you and express my feelings, and then this is going to be a reaction. Like, and I know that I can't control people's reactions, but still at the same time, like, acknowledge what you did and take accountability for that too.
Everyone this is a takeaway. On both sides of the conversation, the person who's bringing the tough conversation to you and the person receiving the conversation, y'all need to come ready to listen and hear the person. I understand that you want to be defensive because, again, you have good intentions, but the good intentions did not land the way you would hope. So you need to be no good friend. I'm going to say right now, there's no good friend that you have right now that you can't have a direct and honest conversation with. I'm not saying that you're a friend. It's something that you can grow into. But yes, if you love that person, you got to be willing to hear that person out. Even if it's hard, even if it does become tense and like, work through that shit. Work through it. Why did I say that though? Yeah, well, yes. But the thing is that people don't be ready. People are taken aback when you bring it to them, just bow. So, yeah, I'm learning that you do kind of have to prep them ahead of time. Like, hey, I want to have a talk. When can we talk? And set up a time so they're ready to talk. Because I am like impulsive. Like, I'd be like, come, I also I want to get it over with. Like, you're anxious about having it. I'm anxious because I want to get the information. I want to get through it. So yeah, it is this, we'll talk. This actually is a good segue, actually. Are you ready to segue into our next situation? Okay. So y'all, something that has helped me understand my friends better, my colleagues better, is this tool called CliftonStrengths. Created by Don Clifton. It's been a professional development tool for the past 25 years. And just a quick they basically studied thousands of successful people and found key talent themes amongst them, and then drilled it down to 34 strengths. And so in January, I got certified, and I've been doing debriefs with kinship, and I had to have my girl Taelor do this so I can know more about her and see how we can work best together, because we are different. So it's just make this make sense. And so I had her do it, and I'm going to let you talk about it a little bit more, but, she felt so seen, and it definitely just kind of, we could literally have a conversation of we can have a conversation of boundaries because we understand ourselves. When it comes to boundaries, sometimes we don't really know what we need, I don't know what I need until I realize I'm not getting it. But now we can look at these strengths and understand ourselves to figure out ahead of time of what our needs might be. So, Taelor, let's talk about what it was like for you and share what might have surprised you and, your thoughts on it.
Yeah. So, I actually took the test a couple years ago through my old job, and we kind of went through it, but didn't do that deep of a dive, on an individual level. And I didn't really pay attention to the results afterwards. So I'm actually very grateful that you brought it back to my attention, because now I'm like, oh crap, I feel so seen. My gosh. No, but it gave me just this renewed sense of clarity. And I can't say that I was surprised, but I think it was just more insightful. And it gave language for what I knew um to already be true, right? And so reading through both of our results, I was like, for me, I was like, yep, that makes sense. I definitely do that. I do this in these situations. Okay. And then when I was reading yours, I was like, that's for sure, Misha. Absolutely. Yep, that's her. I could see why this connects. And so it was just a moment, like I said, a moment of clarity. But I think it's helpful to go through it together because, well, one, Misha did a cross comparison analysis. Shout out to Claude.
Yeah, I didn't do
Put
it.
a report together and put a report together. And it really helped to synthesize our how we align, our differences, how we complement each other through our partnership dynamic. And so I'm like, this is actually really helpful. So helpful. So side note, anyone who has taken this before, do a cross comparison analysis, especially for people that you work with, your colleagues, or people that you are in business with. It's really, really insightful and helpful.
Yes. And go ahead, my bad.
But yeah, I think as we continue to grow in relationship with each other, it's just a helpful tool to continue to go back to when we may need assistance on how to navigate something, or we forget, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I'm going to give an example of how it might show up, how it shows up for us at least. But it is to your point, something I do with my clients that I have their strengths information with. We often do company strength debriefs or team debriefs. So let's say they're coming and they're struggling with one of their coworkers or their managers. I can pull up their strengths and literally say, this person context is in their top 5, so they need a little bit more information about why you're doing the thing. So that's probably why they're questioning, or it might feel like they're kind of on you. They just need that context. So you have to, if you can set yourself up to do that ahead of time, then, so it's a good way to kind of spot check what the issues might actually be. So I'm going to give you an example for me and Taelor. So I have ideation and strategic in my top 10. Taelor has deliberative and strategic in her top 10. So yay, we both are strategic, but it's going to show up differently because of our other strengths. So for me, ideation is this, I'm able to generate ideas and I almost build off of one. I got one and oh. And then strategic, that strength means that you are able to come up with multiple strategies, very solution oriented, can come up with a strategy and can tell you the pros and the cons and just see the through line. So, it's ever changing on my end and it's evolving. For Taelor, for deliberative, she is thinking through exactly how it needs to be done. So let's say she's coming up with a strategy. The strategy's happening. She's got the ideas and the ways, and she's being very deliberative about them and thoughtful. And so once that plan is locked in, it's locked. I'm like, well, we can make it, we can do this. And she don't want to hear that. And, at the same time, I always want to make it a little bit more creative. And so that becomes a thing. But now we know, we have our boundary is that the week before a show, no more changes. And then on my end, like, I want her to, be a little bit adaptable in the moment and like throw ideas back and forth with me, like play with me in that moment too. Mm-hmm. So it's a compromise and a tug of war, but we are able to do that because we know it. Mm-hmm. She could easily go around hating me because I'm always trying to change stuff, and I can go around hating her because she's unmovable once we make a decision. But I don't have to do that because now we know each other better.
Yeah, man. My brain, how it processes, it goes from like, oh, let's think big, and then like, let's go to a granular level. And it's like these little pieces, it's like a little clock, If one thing is messed up, it's going to mess up the whole thing.
And I'm like, okay, but we can fix that little thing. Let's just take a little moment and fix a little thing. And I have she don't want to fix it. It's not going to work. We're moving on.
Do we got the time, the resources? Like, what's happening?
So yeah, it's a compromise. But like, again, that could be something that's a really like an issue. Mm-hmm. And because, we take the time to use this tool and use it productively, you can use it for relationships, friendships, but definitely for coworkers and teams. Mm-hmm. Because also what the assessment helps you do is it shows you the blind spots, because obviously being strategic is brilliant. But the blind spot for being strategic is that, it's ever changing. Being deliberative is gorgeous, but also it makes, it harder for you to like, adapt to different things. So every strength has a blind spot. And with that strength, it's something there's a need there. So for, I don't know which one of these are, but there's a strategic thinking strength. And one of the things that they need is someone who, okay, let me make sure I get this right. I'm going to use a different strength example. So relator, we both have relator in our top 10. Relator is a strength where they enjoy in-depth conversations. They like to go deep. They want to work with people that they're close to. It's like, we gang. Small talk, not fun. Meeting new friends, a little hard. But, right, like when you're with a team, right, like we're able to build that camaraderie, that togetherness. The blind spot to the relator is that you can come off aloof, unfriendly, cliquish. So, but at the same time, what you need is like, people that you trust that you're around. So that's a little, tidbits about strengths that I think is going to be really helpful when you're communicating and dealing with people.
Yeah. I feel like this should be a part 2 down the line.
Let us know if you guys want that. We can, send us some questions that you might want to know. Okay, so we came up with a little bit of a framework for folks who might, they're ready to have these tough conversations and don't know where to begin. Mm-hmm. So we have a 6-step little framework that we're going to go through. And the biggest one, and I think the one that is a little hard at time, is to get clear with one, what's the issue? Mm-hmm. What is the it for you? Get very clear on that. Don't get confused. Don't, try to pull all these. What is the it? And on top of that, with that it, what do you want to get out of the conversation? Is it behavior? Is it to just be heard? Is it to get an apology? Because that question is always going to come up. It's always going to be like, so what you want? What you want me to do?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and you're going to be like, I actually don't know what I want. I just wanted to say this. Come in clear on what the it is and what you want from the conversation. The next thing, as we've kind of circled around, is choosing a moment intentionally. Don't do it on someone's birthday. That is actually like really rude. When you say something like, can we talk? Like that's automatically going to like stress someone out. They're going to make you hungry.
High alert.
If someone texts me, can we talk? I'm calling them automatically. I'm walking out the meeting. I'm walking like, let's talk. So let's be mindful of that. Something that I did was send a voice memo. And I think that is a really thoughtful and intentional way to do it. You can do it however you think, but just saying like, hey, this is a thing that we're having. This is a thing that I'm seeing. I want to talk about it. When is a good time for you? I'm happy to be flexible. Or you can say like, these are the times I'm available, but I really want to make sure that we take a moment to get through this. And it's, again, it's letting the person have an idea of what the conversation might look like prepares them a little bit. They're not gonna be blind spotted. Like, if I were to just bring something to Taylor gonna be like, "Well, let me think about that and I'll get back," you know? We might have to have,
Mhm.
you know, so you wanna prepare someone to come in mindful and ready, you know, because other than that, then it's gonna be like an attack almost.
Yeah.
And then the third one is lead with the relationship, not the grievance. So,
Mm.
you know, setting that intention of like, we're having this conversation because I love you. We're having this conversation because I want to keep you in my life. I know that, you know, you don't intend to be like this, you know, but this is how I feel. And in order for us to continue, that this needs, you know, let them know that there is care there. And that already starts to sink, let the defensiveness go because you know that this is love is in the room.
Yeah,
So it's your
absolutely.
next thing.
So, number 4 is using I language. And I cannot say how important this is because when you use you, I feel like that just automatically starts like attack mode. So use I language. So like you can not start the conversation, but inside the conversation, like when X happened, I felt blank, or I feel as though blank. I want to check to see if that's true or not. And then you can navigate the conversation that way. But always try to use I statements. My mom tells me this all the time. Use I statements.
It's me.
Yes. And then number 5 is to listen to understand and not respond. Also a very good one. A very, very good one because
And
when we're listening to understand versus react, you're getting to the point of better understanding. You're getting to the point of the root. You're getting to the root cause, right? While listening to understand. But if you're listening to react, you're just trying to win the conversation. And the conversation isn't about who won. The conversation is acknowledging boundaries. It's being heard. It's being seen. It's fixing a problem. It's not winning, you know? Like, this is not a game.
yeah, because honestly, if the friendship is good and you lose it, or the relationship is good and you lose it, then like, yeah, it wasn't a win.
Yeah, it's not a win at all. So yeah, so in the moment when you're in your head and trying to craft a rebuttal, like you've already lost and left the conversation. Like
Yeah.
bring yourself back into it and listen to understand. And it's okay if you take a moment to say, and this is like what I did in our conversation, right? Was like, hold on, like, give me a moment for me to process,
And
right?
you know, you have to be comfortable with that. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And as the other person on the opposite end, like you have to have that patience and that grace, because you want to be able to make sure that the person that you're communicating with understands the point that you're coming from and can come from a place of honesty,
hmm.
right? In order to navigate the conversation.
And can I add
Um,
something to that, if you don't mind?
yeah, of course.
I just want to name that it is hard. I think I might have just started. Maybe, I don't know when I started, honestly, but listening to understand is very hard, and you can only do it if you're not on the defense. You really have to settle down because it's not about them really being wrong because they're coming with you with their story. Like facts, feelings, stories, there is, you know, a fact in the situation. There's your feelings of the situation. And then there's the story that you've built around it, like the why of what is happening. So they're coming to you with their story, and their story might be completely wrong of your story. But the fact is that the feeling is there. It's not really about the story, it's about the feeling. So
Yeah.
that's what you have to acknowledge, and so you have to listen for that feeling, not really focus on the story, because that's where I focus, like, that's, you know, the feeling. That's what
Yeah.
matters, and that's what you have
Yeah.
to acknowledge.
Yeah. And I think you getting to that point, something that may be helpful. I did this with my mom in a conversation. Sometimes she can tend to be defensive, but I set up the conversation of saying, "Hey, I just wanted to bring something to your attention. Know that my intentions are coming from a good place and I want to make sure you know, that you hear what I'm having to say and it's with love, you know?
Mhm.
Use different language. I don't think that was a good template, but
it's a good table setting though. And I think we should table set the conversations to start from a place of love. You just gotta slow it down because you're coming in anxious. I'm coming in ready to like say what I gotta say. We gotta calm it down.
Yeah. I also think it's okay to name, like, at the top of the conversation too, like, "Hey, I'm a little nervous bringing this to your attention," but as long as you know the person and you know that they're not gonna use that against you, because sometimes people are manipulative.
Yeah.
But
when we're talking about tough conversations, we are not talking about narcissists and, people who are not listening to understand. Like, that's a lose-lose.
Yeah, it is very much a lose-lose. It is a person that you are able to have a healthy, reciprocal dialogue with.
Yep.
Put that there. Okay, so the last one is end with a commitment and not a conclusion. So don't be drawing all these conclusions in your head about blah, blah, blah. No, talk it out. What is the end result, or not the end result, but what is the commitment that we can make to each other, right?
Yeah.
And so, like I brought up earlier in the conversation when I was talking to my homeboy and we had a tough conversation and we made a commitment to each other. Mine was that I would bring something to his attention within 48 hours. His was that I forgot, but but I know like the thing that I was going to bring, the commitment that I was going to make. But so you should leave just on a clear ground, right? Like, here's what we are both agreeing to moving forward.
It's also a good way to track behavior because you'll have this conversation and you're still kind of, there's a grace period, but you're seeing that like the boundaries aren't there. The commitments that we set aren't there. And that's information. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, and to Taylor's point too, is both should leave with commitments because I'm pretty sure you're not about to walk into a tough conversation with only one person having like a grievance or like a thing. Like there's always a thing of like, well, I need this from you then, because we're all different. So both people should leave with a commitment, and that could be a boundary that, whatever it looks like. Not a conclusion. Not that I love you. It gotta be I love you, and my commitment to you is to, and vice versa. And then we can move on and, live our happy life until our next hard conversation.
That part. But before we close out, I do want to touch on something specific. Although some of us may or may not, no, I don't know how to navigate some tough conversations with friends and family to some degree. But what about work?
Yeah.
Child. Or a business partner, a
manager, a colleague, Yeah. It's something that, a lot of my clients come and like, got a lot of things to say about the managers or maybe someone they're working with. And my question is always like, do they know how you feel? Do they know your experience? Do they know that you don't feel like you can? And they're like, no. And I'm like, yeah, you gotta have that. You gotta have that conversation, because all I can do in that moment though is to coach you to then have that conversation. I can't fix a relationship with two people, right? I can only help and support you. So yeah, and I think it does go back to like getting clear on what you need from the person and making sure that you know exactly what it is. There is a framework for leadership, folks in leadership in general. And it's like, when you have critical feedback, it's naming, this is what the thing is. This is the impact of what it means when you're doing this. And this is what I would like for you to do moving forward. So I'm noticing that you're not giving me your weekly report by noon every day. Instead, you're getting it to me by 2. That impacts me because now I have to, spend an extra hour editing the parts, and it just delays the whole process on my end. In the future, what can we do to make sure that you're able to get your reports done earlier? Or what can you do to communicate to me sooner that it might not happen on time? and then we can have a conversation.
But what about like if it's you're chatting with a CEO, like a higher up executive to where, let's just say you're in meetings, you could be talking in the meeting or leading the meeting and then you're being cut off by said higher up person. And it's just kind of like
Yeah. And that's something you got to communicate. It is. It's like, hey, I'm noticing, let the first one go. Let the first one go. Third time, fourth time, hey, I'm noticing that like sometimes you kind of cut me off before I'm finished my sentence. Is there, a reason behind it? Is there something I should be aware of? Like, am I talking to, you don't got to say all that, but like, ask what it might be. They're going to be like, oh, I didn't know, if it's an old white man, I didn't know that actually. Good to know.
Oh my God.
That's something I'll have to be mindful of in the future. And at least, I don't know if the person's going to change, but at least you said it. And maybe, let me tell you something else when it comes to work. Let's say you verbally provide feedback. The feedback or the tough conversation is verbally named. Let's say you guys leave that conversation with commitments or just some type of understanding.
Write it down.
Follow-up email. Thank you for this conversation. This is what we've agreed on. Let me know if you have any questions, or just put in a running doc, like whatever that looks like. But yeah, like one, it just makes it official, right? Like we can have any conversation we want. Like I don't have like something with my ADHD. Like I have to have like an external memory. So if you say something, I'm gonna still need you to have to write it down to refer back to. So for multiple reasons, it's good to deliver feedback verbally and then in written form. But yeah, what do you think, like, based on your question, what are you kind of getting at there? Like, what are you thinking about that further?
What do you mean?
About the higher up, like the CEO guy and,
Oh, just because it just may be tough to navigate those conversations, like whether you are like in the position to where you're working like directly with the CEO or you're in the position to where you're working directly with the SVP or whatever it may be, like this is your boss or your boss's boss. And I feel like definitely Black employees can feel fear when it comes to that, because if I'm bringing something to you and it's usually like a white superior, and sometimes it's Black superior too, but it's hard to navigate because you're like, my job is on the line at this point, because then they can use my words and turn it against me.
and they will.
Yeah, and I've gone through that to where like in my old job that I was working in LA, like homegirl was just trying to get me fired just because I was an educated Black woman.
Yeah, but that is the case. Yeah, I think the truth of the matter is these conversations are not always going to be safe spaces. So you have to decide if you're going to advocate for yourself, if it's safe to advocate for yourself. I'm always going to encourage someone to advocate for themselves, especially because, I mean, if you're going to get fired anyways, or if shit's not working anyways, then like, what's the point of you just suffering through it? The thing is though, that on both ends, like a manager and the direct report, it needs to be a feedback rich environment. So every meeting, there should be an opportunity for both to give feedback. It can be like, hey, I really appreciated what you did this week. It was great. On this end, we still need to work on this a little bit. On her end, it's like, how can I help you? How am I not, what else could I need? Like, what do you need from me? That should always have a moment in the meetings. And so it's not going to be a surprise when, the person finally says like, hey, I'm noticing that you're, it just needs to be consistent. And so, but when it is consistent, you're able to see a through line. You're able to see a pattern on both ends, for yourself, as information for yourself as a worker. But that's tough. And I don't want anyone in positions where they aren't feeling safe to advocate for themselves. And so I know that this is a horrible economy, but it's probably better for you to leave anyways. Like if there's not a psychological safety, then you're gonna lose a job eventually, regardless. Like, let's be real. Like, you will lose a job anyways, regardless. So I think advocating for yourself is important more than anything. I do also want to add, and it's the last thing I want to say, but it is still about picking your battles and figuring out what you can rock, like what you can figure out. And if the thing you need is in the hands of someone else, then like, yeah, then you have to have the conversation. But like, can I get over this guy cutting me off every now and then? I can, I guess, like whatever, like that's what I mean by that. Does that make sense? What do you think? Yeah.
It makes sense. It makes sense. Right, y'all.
One last thing, though, that I did not name for folks with ADHD is that we do have this thing called RSD, which is rejection sensitivity, so that it is painful to receive tough feedback, critical feedback. It will, like, it hurts my heart. It's so hard. Like, even with my kinship job, if I know and I'm getting feedback from them the coming Monday, my nervous system doesn't feel good. It feels painful. So I just want us to be aware of that, of like, you can move, as long as you're aware that like, yes, it's painful, you can you still need it. You still need to have those tough conversations. I just want to acknowledge that. Okay.
That's good. That's a good tidbit. All right, y'all. So here is your Be Well RX segment. And here are your affirmations for this lovely episode. So the first one is, I hold space for honesty and still lead with love. Number 2 is, hard conversations are an act of respect for myself and for the people I care about. And number 3 is, I don't have to be perfect to communicate. I just have to be present and understanding.
And the journal prompt that we're leaving with you guys with this week is, what would it feel like to say the thing you've been holding? And maybe that's even a good question to put into categories. What in your family do you feel like you need to say? Or how would it feel to say this to your family? What would it feel like to say this to your manager, to your partner, your best friend?
That's good.
See how it feels.
Breaking them down into like different categories.
Okay, y'all. This is the work. This was a juicy conversation. It was fun for me. Hopefully it was insightful for you guys. We're not going to pretend it's easy, but the relationships in your life, the real ones, they deserve your honesty and transparency and understanding and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. So drop in the comments, what's your biggest challenge when it comes to having a hard conversation? We want to know because we're nosy. We're nosy little, you'd be like, something Betty, but
Nosy Rosie is what I used to be called. Nosy Rosie.
Nosy Rosie. There you go. Nosy Rosie. But if this episode helped you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Pass it along in your family group chat, friend group chat, all the things. And follow us on Muse and Be Well on Instagram and TikTok.
And subscribe to us on our YouTube channel with the same name, at Muse and Be Well. This has been Muse and Be Well, where we remind you to trust yourself, stay grounded, and be well.
Yes.
We'll see you guys in 2 weeks.